gold down there, Diane. There's gold down there.
You're like their number one favorite guy. Because you won them cash. Hi, and welcome to the Tour Report from Secret Golf. I'm Diane Knox, and Steve Elkington is here on location this week. You're in Carlsbad, but not the one in San Diego.
I'm in the one in New Mexico, Diane, and at an oilman's tournament. We used to call this the barbecue circuit, where in the beginning of the summer, we'd go out and these guys all have their partners and play these best ball events, and we're having a lot of fun. Sam and I are partners. I think we're coming second right now, so we need a bit of a hot day today.
Okay, you can do it. Right, well, this week on the PGA Tour, it is the Memorial Tournament at Muirfield Village in Dublin, Ohio. Now, Elk, we would usually say that this is a course that you know inside out. However, when the tournament concluded in 2020 and John Ram was crowned champion, they completely renovated the course. They were actually showing on the TV coverage last year the diggers and all the guys starting work while the tournament was still being played. So this week, we're using all the information we have from the renovations of this iconic course.
Yeah, I think, Diane, this week, knowing Jack Nicklaus, which I do, and I've played the Muirfield event a lot of times, the only unknown is how Jack Nicklaus has a way, Diane, of being very calm and collected about saying what he's done to the golf course. But does anyone really believe that Jack would tear up the whole course and not make it a little bit harder? We know some numbers. We know he's added 100 yards, but 100 yards doesn't sound much, but strategically, a 20 here, a 15 here, another 20 there, all adds up. But I think, Diane, Jack Nicklaus, he's famous for this. He'll always go in and change a hole. Arnold Palmer did the same thing. But we're going to see a golf course that is the same routing. All the greens have been resurfaced. That means that nobody has the advantage of how to read the greens. Normally speaking, this course would be an easy one to handicap because, let's face it, when you have experience at Muirfield Village, it's such an iconic course. Now, nobody knows where the pin placement's going to be. Mm-hmm. Nobody knows the slopes. It's a whole new ball game. And by the way, Jack Nicklaus asks you to do a lot when you play his courses. You've got to drive the ball good. You've got to play strategy. We know he's put in a few extra bunkers to knock out Bryson, a few mature trees to stop all that stuff going on. He said last year famously he said, I don't care if they drive it down there 350 yards, but they're going to have to drive it in the fairway. There's not going to be any freebies anymore at Muirfield Village. So,
okay,
how do we handicap that, Diane? I'm looking at a very specific set of skill set for this week.
Okay. Well, Jack did say that the goal was to make the course more playable, whatever that means, and just to make the course better, not necessarily harder. But as you say, 100 yards in total being added to the course, all the greens reconstructed. The only greens that are still the same, 12, 13, 14 and 17. And they added new tees, professional tees, to 2, 3, 5, 6 and 7. So, I mean, we saw a document that was sent to all the players and caddies, and it details everything. It shows images of some of the holes. What impact do you think it's overall going to have on scoring, especially looking at the fact that there's 100 extra yards on the course?
I would be super shocked if Jack Nicklaus didn't try to add 2 or 3 strokes harder to this course. Let's take number 4, for example, a par 3. It used to be a beautiful little hole, went up a small hill and a little jelly bean shaped green that sat into the side of the hill. Now that green is 50 yards long. And that may sound extreme, but if it was, let's say it was 130 yards to the front and I was hitting a 9-iron to that pin, they've added 50. So 130 and 50 is 180. I may be hitting a 6-iron. So he's got a lot more flexibility of what he can do, because the greens were quite small in places at this course. Of course, there were some par 5s at Muirfield Village that the guys just chewed up. But, Diane, I think Jack is like Augusta. Of course he is. He won there 5 times. He doesn't like it when the guys come to their course and rough it up. That beautiful hole number 18 behind you, he experimented one year with furrow bunkers, furrow rakes, which is the rakes with the big teeth. So when the caddies finished, they raked it out, and the next guy that came in would finish up in down in one of the furrows. So players weren't very happy with that. So Jack Nicklaus will have plenty in store for these guys, and the scoring is going to be this way, not this way.
Well, John Ram won last year 9 under par. Remember, it was a bit of a tussle between John Ram and Ryan Palmer, and they both didn't have great days, +3 and +2 respectively, but -9 being the winning score. Another thing that we have to take into consideration, which we always have to talk about when it comes to Muirfield Village, is, well, not only the weather, but the curse of Chief Leather Lips. It's such a hard thing to say.
That's hard for you to say.
It is. Every single year, the rain causes some sort of delay at this tournament. You know, whether it be before the tournament starts, once play begins, there's always one horrible day of rain, and it's all because of this curse.
And for those that don't know the curse of Chief Leather Lips, there was an Indian burial ground on this very site, and when Jack Nicklaus designed this course, they were told, do not put the driving range near Chief Leather Lips' grave. Of course, Jack decided that was going to be the spot that he was going to put that there, and they cursed the tournament for 100 years with bad weather. Now, Barbara and Jack have made offerings to Chief Leather Lips' grave. They've given him golf balls with golden bears on them. They've taken fruit baskets. They've taken all sorts of things over to Chief Leather Lips to stop the curse. And Diane, I don't know if he liked the redo, but he's got a 95% chance it's going to rain on Wednesday, so Leather Lips is still in play.
Oh my gosh, beware of the curse. Right, well, today on our tour report, we're going to be handicapping the field for the Memorial Tournament this year. We're going to be looking a little bit more at the course and re-ranking the field to give you our top picks.
Compete against your friends on PGA Tour events. Win cash and bragging rights. Test your golf knowledge. Experience the success and failure of PGA Tour players. SG Tour app is an engaging golf experience designed by professional golfers that created a variety of games, including single and multi-day games, as well as tournament-long contests. It's really simple. Join or create a game. Pick 4 players and win cash. You can even immerse yourself in interactive features, including course strategy, putt predictor, and daily content exclusively from PGA Tour players. The word is out and golf fans are catching on. So don't miss out. Download the SG Tour app now.
Well, this week it's off to Jack's place for the Memorial Tournament, and we are giving you our tour report. So we have our re-ranked top 10 coming up, also Sizzlers and Dark Horse picks. We've been on a little bit of a roll lately, Elk, so and especially this week, the field is of such high caliber as we'd always expect from this tournament.
Jack Nicklaus, of course, nothing needs to be said about that. A lot of people just come to Jack's tournament just to see him and Barbara. They're some of the gracious hosts ever. But, I think, this course, Diane, will probably do Ryder Cups and big tournaments in the past. I think it's worth a trip to come up to see what Jack has up his sleeve. I mean, he's going to have all sorts of tricks on this course.
Well, especially now that they did all these renovations to it, and we went through those in the first section of the show. But the main things are they completely renovated the greens, apart from 4 on the course, and they've added 100 yards in length. A lot of new bunkers dotted around the place as well. So this is a little bit of an unknown, not just for us as handicappers, but for the players too. I mean, they would be stepping out on Monday to start their preparations on a course that they've never seen before, really.
Yeah, and this week, Diane, when I start to think about how I handicap this event, I start to think about what skill set is required to play this course correctly. I've talked about on this show before, if you hit one good shot off a hole, let's take number 18 yesterday, the freshest one in our memory of Colonial, over the trees, and now once Kokrak was in the fairway, it was just a simple shot to the green. Jack Nicklaus doesn't like that. He likes to have to hit a great drive and a great second shot.
Okay.
He's a very demanding designer. And when I think about this week, All the greens have been resurfaced. That's taken away all the advantage of the people like all the past champions that know the breaks. So who is most likely to be able to understand this? Well, first thing I'm going with, Diane, I'm going with the best putters in the field, because if all things being equal and nobody knows anything about how to read a green, I'm going with the best putters. Wouldn't matter if you had that green reading book or not. Doesn't matter, because it's new turf, new everything.
Okay. Well, past champions, we talked about the fact that John Ram won here in 2020. The year before that, it was Patrick Cantlay, Bryson DeChambeau, and Jason Duffner, who's part of the Secret Golf team. So we get a little bit of an insight from Duff as well. But as you say, putting is going to be important this week. That's one of the big stats we're looking at. Also, total driving, proximity to the hole, scrambling, and the approach from 150 to 175. Right, we're going to get straight into our re-ranked top 10, and that scrambling stat, we talked about it when we did our recap for Colonial last week, but Jordan Spieth is at number 1. He's firmly at the top. Elk, he almost won a second tournament in Texas for 2021, but was pipped to the post by Jason Kokrak.
And had a great Masters. Is anybody surprised? We're talking a month or less ago about Jordan Spieth. Will he ever get back? And now here he is sitting at the top of the field on one of the most iconic tournaments on tour, Jack Nicklaus's event. And the reason he's on there, Diane, I was just talking to Jason Kokrak on the phone, and I said, Jordan Spieth has that extra club in his bag, which is like Seve Ballesteros had. It's just, he's so tenacious. He can still do things that keep himself in contention when he's not at his best. Now, he is driving the ball good. I mean, we saw Jason Kokrak hitting great drive after great drive. Jordan put it right behind him for most of the day. It was very impressive. So Jordan Spieth sits on top of the rankings because he is the best putter on the planet right now, from 5 feet, 6 feet, 7 feet, you pick it. Is in form, knows this golf course, and he likes the stage.
Yeah, and the other thing with Jordan is he was 54-hole leader. He got off to a great start at Colonial and kept it going, and then Sunday, his round was 3 over. He ended up losing by 2 shots, but his scrambling was out of this world, and as you say, the putter as well. You see him in these, what they seem like impossible situations, and you know that he's going to do something to put himself in a prime position afterwards.
Yep, and the big trick is with Jordan, if you start seeing him driving it straight, then you got to watch out, because once he starts driving it straight, it's he's the man to beat.
Yeah, and that's it. That's the big stat. But 12th on tour for putting average right now. We have Jordan Spieth at number 1, and he's 14-1 this week, so we are definitely not the only ones. Coming in at number 2, well, someone that we saw win very recently on the PGA Tour. It was kind of a similar situation to Spieth in that there'd been a real dip in form, and then to come back and get the win. However, we expected big things from Rory McIlroy at the PGA Championship, and he failed to deliver. But he's back in at number 2 this week.
Rory pulled himself out of that funk, Diane, with a new coach, new swing idea at Charlotte, and won that tournament. Had a disappointing PGA, but anyone would have to consider Rory McIlroy, the way he strikes the ball, the way Jack Nicklaus designs courses. It's just a big course. I never could play Jack's courses that good until one time I decided I was going to play that very course the way he would, which was to hit a high fade. I wasn't a great high fade player back then, but I think I finished 3rd in that tournament because I played every shot with a high fade. Now, that's not Rory's forte. He's more of a high draw. But the high part and the straight part, Rory's got all that. So I think we're going to see more from Rory this summer. I think he's on the verge of sort of doing some things, although it's always 2 steps forward and 1 back with Rory, but let's see what happens. But definitely deserves his spot at number 2.
Yeah, for sure. I keep saying every year I'm going to get you a t-shirt made up saying, what would Jack do? And it's been your mantra for such a long time, so maybe that's exactly...
It's true. It's true.
What he wants everyone to think, isn't he, with these designs of his courses? Like, how would he play it?
And once Jack's not here and Tiger moves into that, how would Tiger have done? I mean, we used to say to ourselves when we were on tour, how would Tiger play this hole? And Tiger never made mistakes. Jack Nicklaus, they very rarely made mistakes. We've seen Tiger Woods funny how we're talking about Tiger Woods right now on this show, but Tiger, we saw him win the Open Championship, Diane, with not hitting a driver. Very disciplined. Won this tournament, plays very disciplined golf.
Yeah.
So they don't make many mistakes.
No, definitely not.
Okay, coming in at number 3, we have Justin Thomas. Now, the putter seemed to be the club that was causing him problems. Do you think from what we saw last week that he's starting to sort it out?
He's still a little bit of a worry. He still falls in that category of Dustin Johnson. Where are they mentally? Where are they sort of in their life as far as where are they looking forward to the US Open? But this will get all of Justin Thomas's attention this week, being with Jack Nicklaus. This is a great chance for him to get up there. And you know, Jack would come and talk to us. And he would say something to you, hey, Elk, you know, how's your game? And I go, well, I'm struggling with so-and-so. And he would say, well, you know, hit it a little further to the hole. Don't put so much pressure on the chipping or whatever it is. He would make it so simple. And I think the medicine that Justin Thomas needs is to get back to, he sort of won the Players' Championship in spectacular fashion. And since then, he hasn't quite hit on all cylinders. But look, we have to rank him up here, Diane. He has the upside so much on this type of golf course because of his striking ability.
And, you know, looking at his numbers too, we talk about his putting being shaky. He's second for putting average on the PGA Tour still. And the approach from 150 to 175, which we think is going to be a good stat to look at this week, he is 6th.
I'd like to say something about the putting at Justin Thomas and Spieth, 2 and 12.
Yeah.
But it's a sliding deal. Like Jordan was coming from 150th in putting, now back to 12.
Yeah.
Justin was at 2 and now maybe going to 100th. But you've got to, when you handicap golf, Diane, and we saw us so famously help a young man win 1.3 million the other day, you have to catch these players on the rise. That's the secret.
Look beyond the stats, which
we always say.
Stats are about 30%.
Yeah.
Okay, well, this is an interesting one coming in at number 4 because last year, remember, they had 2 tournaments at Muirfield Village back to back. The week before Memorial, they had a workday event and it was won by Colin Morikawa. It was a playoff between Morikawa and Thomas. So we're putting Colin Morikawa at number 4 this week, returning to a course, albeit it's going to look very different, but there's still going to be those winning memories here.
Yeah, and he's not the longest hitter on the tour, Diane, but Jack's going to ask you to hit it straight this week. Does anybody think that Jack's going to let you win the tournament by hitting in the rough all over the place? He's not going to do that. I mean, he saw what Bryson DeChambeau did to his course last year. I think he drove it 400 yards off hole number 1. And I read on the brief of what Jack did. There's been a relocated bunker on hole 1. The fairway's been narrowed. Okay, so we know Jack fixed that. So I've got to have a guy in there, Diane, that's very consistent striker, has the patience to learn this course, has enough energy to get out there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday and learn all about Muirfield Village. He's already won on this course. You still have to hit the same shots. The routing hasn't changed. Morikawa knows all this, of course, and that's why he sits right where he does.
Yeah, and his numbers are so good. So good across the board. 5th in proximity, 16th in total driving, 14th in putting average. So he's a solid player. Then at number 5, we talked earlier about the importance of being able to hit the ball high around here. And the guy at number 5, he has probably the highest ball flight of anyone. You just mentioned him there as well. Bryson DeChambeau, we're putting him in our top 5 this week.
He's won this tournament before, Diane. Bryson has. And I was on tour last week with the guys, and the tour players are a little bit befuddled of how high that Bryson hits these irons. They're sort of calling it ugly high. He's really got these irons up high. Now, we've also said don't pick Bryson after he's come out of the garage. Wait for a couple of weeks before you put your money on him. However, he's won on this course, and high ball flight is one of Jack Nicklaus's favorite things because he was the highest hitter in the game. We can't leave him out of Diane. He's the longest hitter in the game. He's the highest hitter in the game, and he's won on this course. And look, Bryson's a top 10 player in the world anyway. I think what's going to be interesting if we get to see him and Jack talk this week about what Jack put in places to stop that long ball.
Yes, right, okay. Well, that is our top 5 so far. Jordan Spieth, Rory McIlroy, Justin Thomas, Colin Morikawa and Bryson DeChambeau. All of those guys are either 14-1 or 16-1, so you would expect them to be at the top. But coming up in the rest of our re-ranked top 10, we have a few surprises for you, some higher odds, and we'll give you our sizzlers this week for the Memorial Tournament. Get in the game on the SG Tour Golf Gaming app and play 4-ball. It's a classic stroke play competition based on the aggregate scores of 4 players. Who makes your team? Well, pick 4 guys, 1 from each tier based on the current world golf rankings. Want a tip? You need 4 guys to make the cut. Get in the game on the SG Tour Golf Gaming app, available on iOS in the App Store. Well, this week it's the Memorial Tournament on the PGA Tour at Muirfield Village. A lot of renovations done to the course. They started digging it up last year, even before the guys were finished playing their final rounds. So it's been a long work in progress. And Elk, you know the course so well. I'm sure you're really excited to see exactly what Jack's done.
Yes, Jack basically is the matriarch of the game, and we like to hear from him all the time and more often than not about what the game is all about and how the design. Yes, he's talked about how he's made this course better for his members, but he's put new tees in, he's changed angles, he's added some mature trees, he's put bunkers out further, he's flattened greens, he's raised greens. So none of the players that had all the advantage are having the advantage anymore. He's lowered greens near the water more so the ball will go in the water.
Okay.
All of this, of course, will make the course a little harder for his members as well, but we're going to go with the talking points that we haven't done much.
His goal was, he said he didn't want to make it harder, he just wanted to make it better. So we'll watch the guys this week, and then I guess we can all be the judge of that. But our full top 5 so far: Jordan Spieth, Rory McIlroy, Justin Thomas, Colin Morikawa and Bryson DeChambeau. No real surprises there. But coming in at number 6, we have a guy who is 100-1. Now, those odds are high, and we're always so big on this guy. He was one of our sizzlers last week for Colonial, and he finished in a tie for 3rd. 2 weeks before that, he finished in a tie for 3rd as well. So this guy, one of the best putters on tour, and his game, we were talking about it, he seems to be playing some of the best, most consistent golf of his career right now. Patton Kizzire. Did I say his name?
Yes, Patton Kizzire. There's very few players, Diane, that you would walk onto the putting green to watch in total awe how they putt. Of course, I used to go watch Ben Crenshaw put the most silky, soft stroke you've ever seen in your life and pour one in after the other on the putting green. And I might go over and lucky enough to see Tom Watson with a totally different stroke of knocking in putts from all over the green. But Patton Kizzire, Diane, is the best, most beautiful, gorgeous stroke ever. The PGA Tour of this era. Mm-hmm. Kind of like Jordan Spieth, but prettier.
Okay.
And he does it very consistently. And if you weren't on our bandwagon when we got the guy to win the 1.3 million, and you weren't on the bandwagon when we told you he was going to be a sizzler last week and finish 3rd, well, now, naturally speaking, Diane, he moves into the top 10 because we think there's still a little run left on this player. Mm-hmm. And where do you need excellent putting more than Jack's place?
Patton is one of these guys that it's streaks, so he'll have a long streak of playing well, and then it could be followed by a long streak of playing not so well, and then he seems to be back on this streak of playing great golf, as we talked about. The putter is amazing. 6th on the PGA Tour when you look at the stats. You don't even need to see the stats. You just need to watch the tournament to see how good he is. But he's got 2 wins on the tour, and they both came pretty close together. Mayakoba and then the Sony Open just 2 months later. So as we said, he's on this good streak right now, and it's almost lasting longer. Like, you kind of see the longevity in his consistency right now.
Well, I talked to you earlier about Jason Kokrak. I'm starting to see Patton Kizzire move into a sort of a top 60 player in the world. I don't think he's made top 30, but he's starting to move that way. And you see the progression of players. I've talked to Patton many times. He always worries about his swing. That we all worry about our weakness. And I told Patton, I said, mate, let's get the ball in play. Let's get on the green like Crenshaw did, and let's do all the damage. Let's wreak havoc on the greens. I can't tell you because I'm seeing the damage that he's doing. Yes, he hasn't won, or no, he hasn't won, but I'm starting to see 63 in the last round, 64 in the last round, third last week, and I'm watching this stroke on TV, and I'm like, get this man on the green.
Hey, he's up to number 46 in the FedEx Cup standings as well. So that's big money for the season so far. And what a lovely place to be at this time in the season as well. So Patton Kizzire at 100 to 1. We have him at number 6. At number 7, 45 to 1. I did say we had some better value coming up in the rest of the top 10. The guy that won the Valspar Championship this year for his debut victory. Again, he is an excellent putter. And when he won the Valspar, especially in the final round, he didn't put a foot wrong. I mean, he looked solid from tee to green on all 18. So we have Sam Burns, definitely deserving his place up there.
Yep, Sam Burns kicked his toe at the Byron Nelson and got beat by KH Lee. Had a disappointing PGA, had to withdraw in the middle of the round. Don't know what that was, but we're assuming he's healthy again. But he's one of these new young emerging players, long hitter, great putter. Burns is one of the next generation of players. And we're in a push now. I talked to Jason Kokrak this morning. We're in a push now for Ryder Cup.
Yeah.
And we're on the countdown for that. Should he be started to be considered? Is Phil Mickelson to be considered? Is Jason Kokrak with 2 wins in the last 17 events to be considered? So it's all a bit of a push right now, Diane. And this has the focus of these players. And look, if you're a stud young player like Sam Burns and you're going up to meet Mr Nicklaus, wouldn't you want to play good on his course if you were playing well?
Without a doubt.
Yeah, Steve Stricker is going to have some tough choices on his hands when it comes to that US team in the Ryder Cup. Right, this guy is going to be on the European team without doubt. Our number 8 is a past winner here in that he won it last year. Jon Rahm, 10 to 1. So this is not a high odd pick for you, but there's no surprise that he's in our top 10.
I've talked about this a lot with you. There is a big gap between the best players in the world and the next group. Let's face it. Now, Rahm has been off form, but he has this tremendous upside. He's defending champ. We know how passionate he is. He had a baby. Okay, I'm not talking about the baby anymore. He should be over that. There's 3 million people had babies since then. So let's get on with it, John. I mean, let's get on with it. He's had tons of good finishes this year, but a backdoor third place, I think, at the Masters with a hot round on Sunday, but never really contended. We all know he wants to get back into contention, but he's just going to have to plot his way around and get himself incrementally back into the hunt. This course will bring back familiar feelings for him, and yep, he sits at number 8.
Yeah, I mean, none of his other stats are good at all. He's second in total driving, and the next closest stat is 76th in putting average. But as we say, first of all, that's just, he's been in this kind of a little bit of a funk, but past champion, and he's, number 3 in the world? So, of course, he's going to work it out. Just like Rory did, I guess, probably a very similar situation in that sense, but he'll get it going, and this could be the week to do so. Coming in at number 9, one of the young studs on the PGA Tour right now, Viktor Hovland, and we're getting him at 18 to 1.
Yes, Hovland we've talked about on this show. He's probably one of the lead guys in this emerging pack of young players. Very happy-go-lucky, got a big smile on his face, hits it straight. He's sorted out his chipping, plays hard courses very well, won the US Amateur at Pebble Beach. He is a big-time player, and yes, Viktor Hovland, what is not to love about this kid? He's just really, he's really moved quickly, Diane, into a top 30 player in the world. I don't know what his world ranking is. I think of the players in my head of what the top players are. In other words, they might be in the top 10 or they might be in the top 30 or whatever, but can they stay is how I think of it. Does anyone think Hovland's not going to stay around?
Oh, it's crazy.
You know?
Well, he's 12th in the world and 4th in the FedEx Cup, so he's in a good place, definitely, and he's in a good place with his game right now.
We worried about Hovland a few months ago, Diane, with his chipping, and he even said, "I've got to work on this because I've got issues."
Yeah.
And he's proven to us, and he's proven to everybody, he can chip the ball now. You don't tell. I hear from the tour players all the time. They tell me that Bryson hits it way too high. They tell me Hovland can now chip. They tell me Will Zalatoris, you know, who is one of our favorites, who has a little, his putting is not as solid as they think it's going to be. So tour players look at other tour players and see what they don't have, and they also see little weaknesses and things that they hope that guy maybe fall off a bridge. You know what I'm saying, so to speak. You want to look at a guy and think you can beat him. But Hovland sealed off the worry, which is good for him.
Yeah.
Not for everyone else. And you can never want to push Victor Hovland off a bridge because he's so smiley and happy all the time. He's too nice.
That's a fair point.
Yeah.
Okay, completing our top 10 is, well, we're going to introduce him as the 2021 Masters champion for the rest of his life. But he's a past winner of this event as well. We have Hideki Matsuyama, 25-1.
I like this pick here, Diane, because it's been long enough now to go through the COVID 2 weeks in Japan, read 1,000 articles on Japanese, go see the mayor, go see the prime minister, get all that done. Come back to America 3 weeks later, get all this done, get all the press here about the Masters. Now everyone's starting to look at the US Open. So is now the time for Matsuyama to start hitting those iron shots that we know he can do, and he's won on this course. And yes, Matsuyama, number 10 this week.
Yeah, too right. Okay, so our full top 10: Jordan Spieth, Rory McIlroy, Justin Thomas, Colin Morikawa, Bryson DeChambeau, Patton Kizzire, Sam Burns, John Ram, Victor Hovland, and Hideki Matsuyama. Still to come on the show, well, Jay Kaplan's going to be here for those dark horse picks, and we'll do our sizzlers. Last week, Patton Kizzire was one of our sizzlers, and he ended up finishing in a tie for third. So we have 3 names that we're going to talk about this week for Memorial.
Play money grabber on the SG Tour. Instead of strokes, it's all about the cash. You pick a team of 4 players, 1 from each tier, and scoring is based on the money that your team wins. Your guys missed the cut? No problem, you're still in the game. The SG Tour Golf Gaming app, available on iOS in the App Store.
So, well, we're hurtling towards the third major of the year with the US Open just a couple of weeks away. But, well, we have a big one this week. This is always a special event. It's an invitational on the tour, so just a higher standard of field. I mean, you look at the guys playing this week and we've got some big names. We've gone through our top 10 for the Memorial Tournament at Muirfield Village, and now we're on to our sizzlers. These are guys that made really big jumps up in our re-ranking. Their odds are all a little bit higher, and we think they are ones to watch. So Elk, our first guy, well, we're starting with a fellow Aussie, and he has had 6 top 10 finishes already this season. A win at the Zurich Classic alongside Mark Leishman, finished 10th at the Masters, 9th at the RBC Heritage not long ago. Cameron Smith we have as our first sizzler at 45-1.
Yes, Diane, I love Cam Smith in general, but I love him here this week also. He's a big course player, the only man to shoot 4 rounds in the 60s at Augusta and not win. But Cam Smith, as everyone knows and listens to golf and watches golf, is an Australian emerging player. But the reason I like him here, Diane, is he's sort of a master putter. He putts really fast greens, slopey greens really well. Any questions what he does at Augusta? There's the slopiest, fastest of all. Muirfield Village is basically designed in a similar sense the way that Jack did it. He loved it so much. And he's a high hitter, and he's a straight driver.
Yeah. And
he's got a cool mullet. So Cam Smith is on the sizzle watch for me, Diane.
Yeah, and I live in Jacksonville Beach. He lives just along the road, and some of my friends were out the other day on the water, and they saw this like $700,000 enormous, amazing boat, and this little guy with a blonde mullet on the boat, and they were like, they know golf. They got a little bit closer and they realized it was Cam Smith. And so he was here letting his hair down, literally, and he'll be all ready to go at Jack's place this week.
I guess the obvious question would be, well, what boat did you expect him to pull up in, Diane? If you had that kind of looks, I mean, seriously.
6 top 10s this season alone. So yeah, he can go out and buy himself the nicest boat that he wants. So Cam Smith is our first Sizzler this week. Our second one is a past champion here. He won the event 2 years ago. I mean, I'll never forget that Jack Nicklaus had said to Patrick Cantlay before the final round, like, smile a little bit more, look a little bit happier out there. Well, he didn't really pay much attention to that. But he won, and he is one of our Sizzlers. What I want to ask you this though, what stopped us putting Cantlay into the top 10 this week? You know, because he's a player of that caliber. So where's the difference?
Yeah, so Cantlay's been off the chart for a while. He hasn't been playing well, a few missed cuts, haven't seen his name on Sunday on the top of the leaderboard. And you have to start to look at players that are going to try to trend up a little bit. Now, Cantlay's won this tournament. Surely, Diane, he would have gone home, got whatever figured out. You know, he's a great putter. I doubt that his putting has left him. He knows how to play this golf course. It's a second shot golf course. When I say that, okay, I said to you, Jack asked you to do a lot of things. He wants you to drive it straight. But if you want to get near these pins, Jack used to hit the high fade. Almost every hole on this course suits a high fade. Cantlay's got that shot. He won this tournament. He putts great. As you said, he's stoic. He's relaxed. Maybe not relaxed. Has the patience to maybe put the work in to understand this new design features. I like him as a sizzle. I've got to pick players, Diane, that I think ahead. I got to think like they do.
Okay.
I'm going back to where I've won. I've got the US Open in California. I'm putting chips in this basket because he's working towards the strength of the season schedule-wise for him.
Okay, that makes sense. Cantlay is 22-1, so I mean, good, it's lowish odds for him. But going back to a place that he won at only 2 years ago. Right, our third Sizzler, and you and I had a little bit of a debate over this one, so we can talk about it here. But we have Rickie Fowler as a Sizzler. Now he's 66-1. I just Googled to get his past couple of finishes, and the top question that comes up in the Google search bar is, what happened to Rickie Fowler? So, well, I'll tell you what did happen is he played well at the PGA a couple of weeks ago. That definitely happened.
This is my favorite piece of the show this week. Rickie Fowler as a sizzle pick. I'm so happy, Diane, because I'll tell you why. You want to know why I got him as a sizzle? He has been off the charts. He even needed a special exemption to play in the PGA. He missed the cut the week before. We thought he was motivated. But Diane, if you think that Rickie Fowler went over to the PGA and played 4 days and finished in the top 5 on that course.
Top 10.
Top 10? It wasn't top 5?
Tied for 8th, he finished.
Okay, I'll take it. And there was so much carnage, Diane. And Rickie Fowler game stood up for 4 days. He had a top 10. So where do you put him? Where do you think about Rickie Fowler if he's nowhere and he can walk into a PGA on the hardest course on the tour and finish in the top 10? To me, that gives me a lot of confidence, and that tells me I may jump quicker than you do, but I'm saying Rickie Fowler's on the sizzle, and that's why he's in it.
Well, that was his only top 10 of the season. His next best finish was at the Valero Texas Open.
Yeah, but you know what I would say to you about that?
What?
That is his first top 10 of his new season.
Okay, but
the other stuff is gone.
And I love Rickie. I mean, and I think he's so great for golf. Really, when you think about, you know, the guys that really are moving the needle when it comes to golf as a sport and social, commercial, you know, Rickie's still one of the top guys up there. But, you know, he had a special invitation to play that PGA. It was the first major that he hadn't been exempt for such a long time, and well, he hadn't played the Masters, had he? So that would have been like a bit of a blow. And then to not be in the PGA Championship with that, surely that was such a big like kick up the butt to say, right, I have to go out there and perform well, because there would be nothing worse than having that invitation and then missing the cut.
Well, I'm not going to tell you all to run out and put your money on Ricky Fowler, but here's what I am telling you. There is no flukes in the top 10 of a major, and there certainly is no flukes when you play at Kiowa. So what changed? Is he hitting it straight? Of course he is if he finished good at Kiowa. We know what was off the tee at Kiowa.
Yeah.
Second shots, they're long and demanding and crosswings. Okay, test done. Putting, he said he's been putting terrible, couldn't putt it into the ocean. Okay, pass that test in the wind. So all I'm saying to you is he's passed a lot of tests internally for him to do what he did at Kiowa. Things are starting to change for him.
Okay, and we know that he signed up to play in the US Open qualifier next Monday. If he were to win this week, then he wouldn't have to play in the qualifier because he'd be in already.
When Ricky wins soon, you'll be able to go back to New Mexico, Carlsbad, to the trunk of Elk's car and pull this antique footage and say, Elk saw it on this day.
Okay, well, I hope so. I never root against anyone, so I hope so. But as I said, Ricky Fowler 66-1, Cantlay 22-1, and Cameron Smith is 45-1. Our three sizzlers for this week. So Jay Kaplan's going to be here. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, when I pick Ricky in our SG Tour match this week, and you see him running up the leaderboard, you are going to be texting me like mad.
I won like $15 last week on our SG Tour game, so I have won. That's 2 weeks in a row. Yeah. I've won every game. Well, not one, but I've won money in every game that I've played in for 2 weeks in a row.
Well, everybody can come play with us on SG Tour. We have a lot of fun, and we're going to be picking some good teams this week. If you listen to this report, you should be set up really well. We
just want to win the 1.3 million on DraftKings like Cameron called it, one of our regulars.
I'd take half. I'd split it with you.
I would take a very small portion of that. Right, Elk, thank you. Have fun in your golf outing today, and we'll catch up with you next week.
Saturday is considered moving day, and you can play along on the SG Tour. It's a one-day stroke play competition where you select a team of 4 players to shoot the lowest scores of the day. Will you make big moves? Download the SG Tour Golf Gaming app on iOS now. Well, the final part of the show, and we're onto those dark horse picks for Memorial. Now, I'm joined by Jay Kaplan, who's the master of the dark horse picks, on location as well. You and Elk are just living the dream this week, here, there, and everywhere. Jay has been coaching baseball, that's his other job, and he is losing his voice. Actually, you lost your voice, and thankfully, it's come back a tiny little bit for us to do this.
I woke up this morning at 5 and drank tea and honey like every 10 minutes just so I could make this show. That's how important you are in the entire Secret Golf Tour Report universe. So you're just going to have to bear with me. I might start yelling because I've been yelling for 3 days at high school kids. And I think hopefully everyone out there can relate to the stress that's involved in. So I'll do my best.
You also sent me some notes, so if all else fails, I can read your notes and then we'll be all right. Okay, so, well, do you want to go first? And we can rattle through yours and then we can end on mine. But you have 2 dark horse picks this week. And the first one is someone that Elk and I were like, stay away from.
That actually makes me feel better because when the world goes with the consensus pick, I usually like to go the other way. So clearly that's what I'm going to do. And you have every right to tell the secret golf world to stay away from this guy. He's been atrocious for the last month to month and a half, but he does play. He's a player. He's a guy that we've used before as our dark horse pick, and he's actually performed pretty well for us. and his numbers match up with Muirfield Village. He is a guy that I can count on, that if he is a top 20 finish, I'm going to feel good about it. And his FedEx rank really isn't that bad this year. I'm trying to justify and rationalize everything, which I normally don't do. But when we spit him out in the numbers, he came up in a spot that warrants the dark horse look.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to try to spin it with statistics. He's not playing well, but I think this is the week that he's going to start to turn it around. And what a better place to do it under the nose of Jack Nicklaus. My first dark horse pick is the one and only Carlos Ortiz. Is going to upset you this week.
We love that phrase. This is going to be the week that they turn it around. I wasn't laughing at your Ortiz pick. I was laughing at your gravelly voice and how hard you're trying to get through this.
Really?
But I mean, Ortiz did jump all the way up to number 16 in our re-ranking this week. That was a big jump based on his official world golf ranking. He's 140 to 1 and he's green across the board with his numbers. You know, when it's a course that the guys, obviously we've talked about the renovations so much, so it's not essentially a new course, but it's going to be a very different course for them, and ball striking is going to be premium. He's 29th on the tour, and putting average, he's 32nd. Solid numbers, and as you say, we all know the type of player that Ortiz is. I mean, he won the Houston Open, had a great finish in Phoenix earlier this season, so he can do it, and he maybe just needs a bit of a blank canvas course to go out there and play his game.
Yeah, and you know, I think the renovations are going to play into the mind of most of the players. The guys that always play here, and it's most of them, feel comfortable at this course. And now there may be a little bit of doubt, even after practice rounds, of noticing the differences. And then the guys that are coming in struggling might feel like, you know what, the field is coming back to me. So if I can just play to my strength, I've got a chance. I feel like Ortiz is that guy this week. And I look forward to this time next week when I can say, Diane, you and Elk, once again, wrong.
Yeah, we looked at him for a sizzler actually, and we both were like, nah, there's not enough momentum. But at 140 to 1, he is a solid dark horse pick. Right, so that's your first one. Your second one, are you able to get through it?
I hope so. I might have to duck out for a little tea and honey or something, but I'm going to really battle. It shows my intestinal fortitude. My second dark horse pick is a guy that is trending forward, which I really like. He's played here plenty, and one of his dream foursomes includes the founder of Muirfield Village. But doesn't that guy, isn't he included in everybody's dream foursome? I would think Jack Nicklaus is. If not, you need to reevaluate yourself. My pick, one of my foursome is this guy. That's how strongly I feel about him this week. And then if he makes the cut, he can stay. If he misses the cut, he needs to get out. Okay. But I know he's going to be motivated. He's actually trending in the right direction. And when you look at his numbers, his only Achilles heel is his scrambling, but he's accurate. And from 150 and in, he ranks 10th on tour, which is perfect for Muirfield Village. So I'm going to stick with my gut instinct, and I'm going to make this guy one of my coveted dark horse picks of the week. My final dark horse pick is Brendan Steele.
At 250 to 1. Also, because you did send me notes in case your voice cracked, his uncle played Luke on General Hospital.
That's right. And
Brendan made his TV acting debut on an episode of Bones in 2015.
So this man craves the attention that I think he'll get for being near the top of the leaderboard. And who of my era doesn't remember the Luke and Laura drama after school at 3:00 that our parents forced us to watch? Who doesn't remember that? Except for you, Diane. You were probably watching some Scottish soap opera. Do they have those over there?
Yep.
Yeah, they do. Okay.
He's playing well. I mean, he was third at the Honda. Started the year with that top 5 finish at the Sony Open, played good at the Zurich Classic, the team event, finished tied for 4th there. So yeah, I mean, it's all pointing in the right direction. And Brendan Steele at 250 to 1. I mean, there's again going to be value in a top 20, a top 10. So I like it. Okay, well, let's move on to my dark horse pick this week. And this is another one that Elk was like, we were thinking about him for a Sizzler, and Elk wanted to stay away. And when you look at his numbers, you can see why. But I'm going with Sebastian Munoz. And I was quite surprised to see that he's 125 to 1, especially after the way that he's been playing lately. He had a top 10 finish at the Valero Texas Open last week at Colonial, was in a tie for third, had a pesky double bogey on I think the 15th hole, but then backed it up birdie par to finish, so that moved him up. And there's just been some really good momentum from him. Ball striking, he is 46 total driving on the PGA Tour, and putting average, I mean 59th, it's not mind-blowing or anything, but it's still a relatively decent number for Sebastian Munoz. It looks as though he's been, this is going to sound really creepy, but like he's lost a bit of weight. He's maybe been working out. And when I was watching the coverage on Sunday, he just had this kind of like swagger of confidence that I hadn't seen from him in a really long time. So I think that Munoz's game could be on a bit of an upturn right now, and at 125 to 1, I think he is a good dark horse.
Like that you're creeping on his physical form.
I didn't mean it like that, but I was just like, oh, he's definitely, you know, been thinking about that.
That tells me he's motivated to succeed, and it paid off for him last week. So keep watching him through the window of his workouts, and maybe this can be a consistent dark horse for you since you're creeping.
Yep. Okay, so our dark horse picks this week, yours Carlos Ortiz and Brendan Steele, and I'm going with Sebastian Munoz. Right, Jay, thank you. Get back to your baseball and the honey and lemon. Try and save your voice and be back, because next week, well, first up, we have the longest day of golf on Monday. It's all the 36-hole qualifiers for the US Open. So we'll definitely touch on that next week. And then we have another new course. Is it the Palmetto at Congaree in South Carolina? So again, another new addition to the PGA Tour schedule, and we will give you our handicapping for that event.